All right, example one, identifying factors affecting the collection of data. So we'll just go through a few of these, talk about maybe the best answers you could give. There's more than one possibility sometimes, so it is important in chapter 11 that you explain your answer. So don't just say it's this factor and leave it at that, but explain why, because you could maybe go more than one way, and you might be giving the answer that's maybe not my first answer, so I want to see that you explain your work. So identify the influencing factors and explain. So a sales rep stands in front of a display of different kinds of toothpaste. He asks every person the following question: what is your favorite brand of toothpaste? For what reason? You might be thinking, what's wrong with this? This one's actually free from any sort of influencing factor, right? This is totally legitimate. You can stand in front, right, and come up with your question. People don't have to answer, right? B, free samples of sunscreen are sent to every home in the fall and winter. A mail reply card asks people if they would use the product again. So a couple of problems with this one. In fall and winter would be not a good time if you wanted people in Canada to check out sunscreen. So the timing might be a factor, but also probably a significant cost if you're sending sunscreen, right? You're sending samples of sunscreen. So probably cost would be the big one, but also timing. Okay. C, a grocery store employee conducts a telephone survey of people living within 10 kilometers of the store. To help determine what meat products to sell, she asks what type of red meat people prefer. Not every culture is okay with eating red meat, so probably cultural sensitivity in this case. Okay, D, sales rep conducts a telephone survey. As she poses the question, a person receiving the call says, "I'm not interested, thank you." The sales rep responds, "Why not? Your input provides useful information." She begins to repeat the survey question. This is starting to hound the person, would be a privacy issue. Okay, they have the right to refuse. They don't have to do your survey. Okay. Your school is under construction and it's quite dusty and dirty. A survey is conducted about the environmental health of your school. The survey is done every 4 years. Well, if it's under construction, this isn't great timing. You're probably going to get a lot of people who could possibly be frustrated, or your school is probably not going to be the most clean. And so the timing of the survey is going to probably or possibly result in some worse results as far as being a clean school. So the timing affects it, right? And that goes for a lot of things, right? If you give certain times of the survey, this survey would probably be fine the next year, right? So the timing affects it. Okay, a sales rep in the last one sets up an online survey. It offers free MP3 file of a song that was downloaded from the internet to everyone who completes the survey. The company has not bought the rights to the song, so this would clearly be an ethical issue because it's illegal, right? So they don't own that song. Okay, show you know, marketing firm displayed 2 sports shirts at a grade 7 to 12 school with 800 students. The first 10 grade 12 students who entered the school were asked the question, which of these shirts would you buy? And then this flyer came out later and it said 78% of students would buy this shirt. Well, a couple of issues. First of all, they only asked 10 people out of 800, which is not a very big sample. We'll get more into that in the next section, about size of samples. But also they only asked some grade 12 students, so maybe the grade 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 might want a say. So these are some factors, clearly some bias involved there. Okay. Okay, example 2. So then the other thing, other than identifying factors, we'd actually be asked to create a good question. So write survey questions that are free from influencing factors. So in this situation, the steel mill company conducts a survey, and in the survey, they say the following: the proposed mill will produce 250 jobs and economic benefits for your community. Are you in favor of having a forward-thinking steel mill in your community? Yes or no? And so hopefully you notice quite quickly that there's some bias. They're obviously in favor of the steel mill. Does the survey question influence? Yes, probably. Rewrite the question. So typically what you would want to do is just give something to both sides. So you could say all this, right? You could say that this is going to create jobs and it's going to create benefits, but you should also give the other side. I know that's weird in media. I don't think there's a media outlet that actually gives both sides anymore these days. But you could say, well, there could be some environmental impact, and we might have to cut down some trees, or it might bring in pollution or something like that, where you at least give both sides and then say, are you in favor of a steel mill? And leave out the forward thinking, right? And so you can give both sides, give some facts, that's totally fine, but then you should have a question that's free from bias when you offer it, okay? Same idea in some of these. You can look through the show, you know. Daniel is studying the population of polar bears in the eastern Hudson Bay. Do you think the senseless slaughter of polar bears should be stopped? Well, either just leave out, should maybe the government or should people do something to stop the killing of polar bears? Maybe there's, I don't know why they would be killing them. Maybe there's a reason, but basically take out the bias. It's clear that they think it's senseless slaughter, right? So that's a biased question, right? A recent study shows that 45% of Canadians are using the internet to shop. Amy develops the following question: what kinds of products and services do you buy online? So 45%, that means over half of people don't buy anything online. So it's assuming, there's bias, we're assuming people buy stuff online. So you could simply change this one to say, do you regularly purchase online? If so, what kinds of products? So you could make it kind of an optional question with less bias in it, just by changing that up. Okay? So some questions for you to practice on page 419.